This episode of the DSP project is brought to you by PMC Ultimate Speakers and Primacoustic. Take control of your room. Hello and welcome to the DSP project, your weekly fix of music production and technology. I'm your host Rupert Brown, and this week we're carrying on our series on studio monitors, in particular talking about what goes underneath them. So we'll be talking about foam pads, about isolation spikes, speaker stands, as well as I will be reviewing the Primacoustic Recoil Stabilizers that you see one of them behind me at the moment. On the subject of Primacoustic, we will be giving away a fantastic prize from them. If you want to stick around till the end of the episode, I'll tell you what we're giving away and how you can enter to go in the draw. First of all, I want to talk about the problems that all these products are trying to solve. First of all is decoupling or isolation, and that problem is basically, you see I've got a speaker here sitting on top, straight on top of my desk, or you might have it sitting on top of your meter bridge. When the speaker starts working, the driver starts pushing air, it starts vibrating the cabinet, and those vibrations will transfer from the speaker, if it's coupled in contact with, down into the table. The table starts working as kind of a passive radiator, so the speaker starts vibrating as well, and when you get vibrations you start to get sound. Now you've got two problems. You've got the actual sound that you can hear that's coming out of it, but also the slight bass that's going to be produced by the desk can start causing cancellation and phase issues. So basically what it comes down to is the vibration of the desk is coloring the sound, and you're hearing something that is not the original signal that's been fed into the speaker. The next problem is keeping a speaker rigid. It's really important to get the most energy out of a speaker that it's kept solid and in place. When people test them, when the speaker manufacturers test them, they have them on huge big slabs of like granite, ultra dense material, just to make sure that there's no energy lost in any kind of a back and forth rocking movement. Now that rocking can happen in the cabinet itself, rocking back and forth if you've got it sitting on like carpet or something like that, but it can also happen in the actual cabinet of the speaker itself. If it's depending on the quality of it, if it's at high levels, you'll actually start getting flex in the actual wooden panels of the speaker can start to move. And to illustrate why this is a problem, if you think about if you're throwing a punch and your muscles are pushing all the energy forward, but you are actually moving backwards, you're going to lose some of that. You're losing some of that impact, and so you're not getting all of the sound. Basically, you're getting this altered sound because of the softening of the transient. So speaker spikes or speaker cones, you'll more often see them on big sort of floor standing speakers. But you do find them used on near fields as well. The general kind of consensus is that you've got these spikes, usually three of them, that will come down to a very sharp tip, and you're significantly reducing the amount of surface area between the speaker and the desk. And by reducing that surface area, you're reducing the amount of vibrations that transmit from the speaker into the desk. Now, when you first hear it, that sounds like a fairly plausible theory, but to be honest, personally, I'm not completely sure that that's the case at all. When you feel a speaker that's been spiked in, it's almost like you've got a nail and hammered it through the speaker into the desk. So it's more kind of bonding it, joining it to the desk, than it is kind of decoupling it. Now, I can't speak as an absolute authority on the situation, as I haven't got the equipment and set it up and measured the vibrations for myself, but I am, to be honest, I'm very skeptical of the decoupling capabilities of spikes. However, where they do come into their own is for making the speaker rigid, because as I say, they're digging right in, that really, and the spikes are usually sort of screwed in or sort of stuck to the bottom of the speaker. It really holds it tight and in place. That's another reason why you will see them on big floor standing speakers, is because they can spike through the soft carpet and into the wood underneath and really lock the speaker into place, so you don't lose any of the energy with the speaker kind of rocking or floating around. So as far as speakers are concerned, it's a yes for rigid, but it's a for no for decoupling in my mind. Next, I want to talk about foam pads, isolation pads. Probably the most common solution that you'll find in most studios. They're nice and cheap, and on the decoupling side of things, I think they work quite well. You've got a big big spongy foam pad. You've got your speaker on top and your desk underneath, and that foam can absorb a lot of the vibrations. And sort of keep the two separate. It's a very similar kind of foam that you'll find in like acoustic panels that you put on the wall, but usually it's just a bit denser because so it doesn't compact as much because it's got the weight of the speaker on top of it. However, on the rigid side of things, not so good. You've just got a soft piece of foam really, so the speaker's kind of free to float around and move on top of it. So on the foam pad side of things, I think it's like a yes for the decoupling, but rigid, not really so much. Next off, speaker stands. Now, speaker stands are a fantastic way of isolating your speakers from your desk because the speakers are no longer on your desk. So the vibration would have to go from the speakers through the stands and the floor up into the desk. Not really going to be an issue. So so they're great for decoupling. Most speaker stands will also have the spikes on the bottom, so it will keep it nice and rigid. The vibrations will then sort of be transmitted into the floor, which is a lot less of a problem than being transmitted into your desk. However, there are some downsides to stands as well. In my situation, I will say I think that stands are probably for the best sound quality. Stands are the way to go. And the reason why I'm not using them here is unfortunately I'm not in a very big room here, not as big as I'd like. And for me to use stands and keep the speakers in the optimum position, and we will be talking about positioning in future episodes, by the way, to keep the speakers in the optimum position, my desk would basically have to be about this wide. I'd have to cut it off down here. And I just need that. I need that space. I've got controllers and stuff that comes into review, so I need the extra desk space. So I've had to make the sacrifice of not having stands. But if you do have the room for them, stands I think are a fantastic idea. And when a lot of friends of mine have them in their studios, and it's definitely the way forward. Which brings me on to the Primacoustic Recoil Stabilizers. So I wanted to test not just the stabilizers, but also the foam solution as well, because I know a lot of people are using it to form my own opinion. So Alvaro came over and we spent probably about a good part of a day. We listened to rock and metal and old funk and some electronic stuff. I had a really good listen, and I basically tried the speakers on the desk, and then I also tried them on the I've turned upside down, so just the foam side, and then I tried them on the recoil side as well. So here we have the Primacoustic Stabilizer. You can probably see me struggling with it because it's very heavy. It's not just because I'm weak for a man. It's on the bottom side of it we've got foam, which works for our decoupling effect, and then next up you have a steel plate. I don't know if you can hear that. A nice steel plate in there, and also like what I think is like a neoprene on top, which is like an anti-slip kind of wetsuit material. And you'll also see that the steel plate sort of rolls around on the front here. Now I'm told that the plate being bent at the front also helps with the sound. Something to do with parallel surfaces being bad. Which I'm not going to pretend I really understand the science behind the rolled lip at the front thing, but I'm told that that impacts the sound quality as well. So this is all a great bunch of theory, but does any of this stuff make any difference whatsoever? So like I say, we spent a good part of the day listening. So first I want to talk about going from the desk to just the foam side. Did it make a difference? Yes, it did. It definitely made a difference. I didn't notice any difference in the treble. In the mids, I didn't really notice any difference at all. Maybe in the very lower mids, slightly better definition, but that was, if it was there, not in my head, it was a very subtle change. But in the bass, my friends, there was definitely a difference. The whole thing tightened up instantly, and you could hear it as soon as you put them in and played the same tune again. You'd instantly hear it tighten up. It's like you'd stuck a big bass trap in the room or something. It definitely all tightened up very nicely. So yes, it did make a difference going to the foam, and so then we tried going from the foam over to the steel plate to the top here, which is where you have the kind of the Primacoustics tape with this special plate on the top. And again, did it make a difference? Yeah, it did. Not in the same way though, which was interesting. So the bass had already tightened up, but what I particularly noticed about going from the foam to the steel plate was the attack on bass notes. So again, I didn't notice any difference in the treble or really the mids at all. But on the bass notes, you'd have on the plain foam side, it would just be, the notes would be quite kind of level, dun, 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 dun. But when you put it on the stabilizer side, you really got the attack of each note. So it's like dun dun dun. So as the string was being plucked, you'd really get the snap and that initial attack of each hit. So I'm pleased to report that, yeah, it does actually make a difference. It's not just a bunch of sales talk. I could definitely hear an improvement from each step of the way. So yeah, I think that in conclusion, I think that Primacoustic are really kind of have pushed the idea of the isolation pad forward with this design. You can get them in a bunch of different sizes for different speakers. You can also see this one is kind of tapered, angling down, so it's higher at the back, which is perfect for my situation here, because I have the tweeter of the PMC set up at my ear, so when I put it on a pad it was kind of out of the sweet spot, but because it was angled in, it kind of it dialed it back in again. And you can get downwards facing one, straightward or upwards facing one if you're sort of, I don't know, like in a post room or something like that. I think they usually have stranger speaker configurations. The cost, I think you get them for around about £100, I think, so expensive really, to be honest. Considering if you think about an ordinary foam pad, it's only like £30–40, I think, if you just buy like a generic one off the shelf. So yeah, it is expensive in comparison. Is it worth it? I think it is. I mean, I guess it depends on your situation. I mean, if you've only gone and got $60 pair of hi-fi speakers, then it's probably not worth spending £100 and something on some stabilizers. But then if you've spent a couple £100 on some monitors, then it's probably worth investing in getting the best kind of isolation that you can. That's about it. That's my review. I think that it's basically a thumbs up. I think it's a really good product. So as I promised at the beginning of this episode, we do have a giveaway, which is some Broadway panels to help treat some of the commonly occurring acoustic problems in your room. If you're interested in winning those, head down to TheDSPproject.com/win, where you'll find all the details where you can get it. And if you've tried these, or you've got an opinion on foam pads in general, or speaker spikes, or any other stuff, head down to TheDSPproject.com and leave a message under this video. Finally, I'd like to thank our other sponsor, which is PMC, the professional monitor company. They make fantastic speakers like the pair you see behind me. One thing on this, while we're kind of on this theme, I spoke about the cabinets themselves being rigid and not flexing. Because PMC uses a transmission line technology, so you've basically got these sort of cross bracing slot boards that go right through the speaker. It sort of holds it really tight and really strong. And you can really notice the difference. Like you turn it up, turn these guys up really loud, and then put your hand on it, and it's still. It's really quite a phenomenal speaker. So if you are looking at upgrading and you want a seriously good professional monitor, I'm not going to tell you to buy them, because it's more important that you make that decision for yourself. But I will tell you to listen to them. You owe it to yourself. Track down a pair and have a listen before you make your decision. That is all we've got time for this week. Join us next week, where we will be talking about more monitor related stuff.